Chapter 5 in the report is going to look at real estate financial technologies. This is something everyone's heard of. Who hasn't been on Rightmove to go and look at houses in the local area or somewhere you want to buy? A lot of people do it even when they're not even looking to buy a place. For me, it's something I've bought and sold a house once before, and it is one of the most stressful things you can do in life. I think that a report quotes it as saying it's the third most stressful thing behind the death of a family member and a divorce. So the innovations in this sector really will change every single person's experience of how they interact with buying and selling real estate.
Hello, I'm Andy Saul from the Oxford Future of Real Estate Initiative, and today I'm going to talk to you about the innovations in real estate financial technology that we touch on in our report, PropTech 2020, The Future of Real Estate. Real estate financial technology, or FinTech, describes technology-based platforms which facilitate the trading of real estate asset ownership. These assets can be buildings, shares or funds, debt or equity, freehold or leasehold. The platforms may simply provide information for prospective buyers and sellers, or they may more directly facilitate or affect transactions. This sector supports the real estate capital markets. The subsectors we focus on in our report can be seen here on the left, but the main problem they're all trying to overcome is that real estate suffers from illiquidity and lumpiness. I'm mainly going to focus on online residential brokers, automated valuation models and iBuyers, and I'll also be touching on the importance of commercial real estate data, legal processes, and how this all affects real estate transactions. The crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending and real estate tokenization we've addressed in a separate report called the Tokenization, the Future of Real Estate Investing, and that can be downloaded from our website if you search for the Oxford Future of Real Estate in any good search engine. Real estate transactions are highly inefficient. How is it we can purchase a car and drive it out of the showroom in a matter of minutes, yet purchasing a home takes a matter of months? Liquidity encompasses not only the time to sale, but the probability of a sale and critically the costs associated with transacting, as we'll see on the next slide. Currently, the system is slow, with many aborted transactions and high associated fees. The average residential transaction in the UK takes 11 weeks. 25% of transactions fall through, with an average cost to sellers at £650 and buyers are left on average £720 out of pocket. Of the 75% successful transactions, 39.5% experience delays, with nearly 40% of these delays resulting in additional financial costs. This whole process is horribly opaque, with nearly half of those experiencing delays holding the other party's conveyances at fault. This is because many stages of the transaction are still highly analogue, relying on good old-fashioned paper and post, or at best, digitised systems with contracts signed by hand, scanned and emailed. In fact, the UK Land Registry required wet ink signatures on all new titles up until only a few months ago. But the UK system is one of the world's most trusted, which many fear would be undermined by the introduction of emerging digitalised systems. Regardless, technology is now available that will enable new digitalised processes which will reduce the time, cost and failure rate of a transaction. The cost of a transaction determines how effectively a resource can be allocated and reallocated based on market demand and supply. With reference to real estate, Ronald H. Coase won the Nobel Prize in 1991 for his discovery and clarification of the significance of transaction costs and property rights for the institutional structure and functioning of the economy. He said that transaction costs can be split into three distinct groupings. The first is the search and information costs, or triangulation, which is the time taken to determine that the good is available on the market and its lowest price. The next is the bargaining costs, also known as transfer, which is the time taken to come to an acceptable agreement with the other party, drawing up the contracts, exchanging contracts and receiving payments. And the third is the policing and enforcement costs, also known as trust. This is required to ensure that the other party sticks to the terms of the contract and, if necessary, take appropriate action. As we will see, technology already exists which is lowering these costs, while emerging technologies will only further reduce any friction. Firstly, let's look at historical search costs. Estate agents are highly localised, offering very little comparison across regions for buyers, making it very tough to market your property to a wide market for sellers. Generally, home buyers would rely on agents with imperfect information, biases and preferences, resulting in varied outcomes that disadvantage the home buyer. Through the emergence of platforms such as Zoopla, in the UK, Zillow in the US, and Rightmove also in the UK, now 90% of residential sales are generated by portals, and only 5% by estate agent shop windows. Over 80% of the homes in the US have been viewed on Zillow, and in Q3 2018, the company's web traffic peaked at over 195 million unique users in this 3-month period alone. These online brokerage companies contain huge data sets spanning pretty much every major urban region on Earth in hyper-localized detail. You can not only compare houses, but local schools, transport links, crime rates, you name it. Zillow offers home buyers and renters the ability to search a database of over 100 million homes listed by agents and owners. These companies are also present in the rental market, alongside more clever propositions such as MoveBubble, who use AI insights to recommend similar properties to those you have already searched. In fact, some companies are altogether removing the search processes, leveraging technology to create the market. A company we've heard of called Landis used big data and AI to identify potential sellers before they've even listed their properties, and they had already have found potential buyers for those properties before they've made a single search. In the commercial market, data provider CoStar, who we mentioned earlier, worth $21 billion US, 3 times more than WeWork, boasts 1 billion page views per month. But their analog data collection model, which relies on an army of researchers, has recently come under threat from a startup VTS, who are a recent unicorn. That's a privately held company valued at $1 billion US, and their data-driven model, which crowdsources information through their accounting and lease management software packages. Real estate financial technology also reduces bargaining costs. If all the required information is correct and available about a property, its valuation can become automatic, and there is no need for negotiation about what is its fair price. Automated valuation models utilize machine learning to make predictions about the price of any individual property based on publicly available real estate, economic, and spatial data. Feeding accessible big data and relevant alternative data into a machine learning algorithm, AVMs enable the prediction of price of any individual asset within a sample region. This has given rise to new models of both real estate investment and mortgage lending, reducing the time needed to sell and purchase a property. My favourite example of a use of alternative big data is from PropTech in the UK, who use drug and arrest rates as lead indicators. So as the arrest rates for and the water content of hard drugs decrease, and it's replaced by arrests and the presence of social drugs, they believe that an area is undergoing almost like a hipsterization and will soon become fashionable and prices will rise. This follows the 1990s UK Shoreditch model of art-led gentrification, or in the USA, Richard Florida's creative class and his coolness index of any area. The accuracy of AVMs is allowing new companies now emerging, akin to WeBuyAnyHouse.com. These are called iBuyers, and they consist of OpenDoor, a recent unicorn, Redfin, OfferPad, Knock, and more recently Zillow Offers. These online companies use their accurate AVMs to guarantee an offer price and quick completion on a property, usually within 7 days. They plan to resell the properties at a higher price after minor refurbishments, maximising profit margins. They charge a service fee of around 7% of property value for their to use their platforms. The top 4 iBuyers, OpenDoor, Zillow, OfferPad, and Redfin, doubled their collective market share in 2019. Reaching 60,000 total transactions and spending over $8.7 billion US on the homes they purchased. They also use other technologies. So OpenDoor utilises the Internet of Things to allow prospective residential purchasers to enjoy unaccompanied any time of the day viewings. So once you register on their app, geolocation technology guides the individual to the property before remote access is granted via an electronic door lock. A system of remote security monitoring is enabled by the installation of motion sensors coupled with the client's mobile phone location data. Transparent demand statistics regarding the number of viewers and thus the level of interest are then able to be published in real time. However, these models are much harder to build for commercial real estate assets as there's much less data available, and most often the details of a commercial asset and its transactions are in digitised formats on solicitors' hard drives and not in the public domain. Real estate financial technology also reduces enforcement costs, and what presentation on PropTech would be complete without mentioning blockchain? This very infant technology is being touted as democratizing value the same way that the internet democratized knowledge. The way this will most likely affect real estate ownership is through smart contracts. A smart contract is the name given to a piece of computer code that's capable of monitoring, executing, and enforcing an agreement. Smart contracts in conjunction with distributed ledger technology could be a way of revolutionizing real estate transactions. For example, as shown here, a smart contract could simultaneously transfer funds from buyer to seller while registering the buyer as a new real estate title holder, but only once all contracts have been digitally signed, executed, and validated. All of this would be held in an immutable, tamper-proof file. A smart contract trial took place in 2019 by a company, the Instant Property Network. They reported that it took just 36 minutes to complete. While we don't doubt that blockchain technology has the ability to execute a title transfer in 36 minutes, the key factor we believe behind the emergence of blockchain into the market for property transactions will be the requirement for participants to work together in a collaborative way, as they've quoted here as well. The difficulties facing the adoption of emerging transaction technologies, of which blockchain is a key role, is fully explored in our Future of Real Estate Transactions report, in which we highlight numerous operational, regulatory and social barriers to blockchain adoption, with no clear path to their removal currently available. Such barriers include a lack of standardised, digitalised real estate data, a need for a critical mass of users, and a lack of current regulatory framework. I've mentioned numerous times now that digitalised data is key for any technology to reduce the cost of a transaction. The real estate industry must first digitalise the data on which it runs. We saw earlier how something such as a plot boundary map or a lease agreement is most often held in an analogue or digitised format, shown here on the left. Lease information extraction technologies exist, which use machine vision, which looks nothing like that by the way, to scan through hundreds of pages of documentation a minute. They're then able to extract specific lease terms from these analogue and digitised leases and populate a digitalised spreadsheet. Companies doing this include Leviton, Proda, Kira and HiQ. However, with no standard industry-wide lease format used, the technology is not instantly applicable across firms, and it must be specifically applied and taught each individual organisation's protocol. This leads to frequent teething problems in accuracy. Current lease data extraction platforms also have difficulties interfacing with other commonly used software systems across the conveyancing and real estate industries. If all significant data is able to become digitalised within the real estate industry, it opens up the idea of a property passport. Currently, data sits in disparate systems, each with its own unique identifier. Title documents, search information, utility bills, construction drawings, maintenance receipts are all in completely separate departments and companies, each using your postal address, a unique property reference number, a coordinate, a membership number with which to identify your account. However, if this information were all to belong in a single file, tied to the freehold and transferred along with title, many of the current causes for the delay in the conveyancing process would be solved. People believe such a system will come to fruition with the normalisation of blockchain technology, offering a single immutable repository for all building information, but this does not necessarily require blockchain. A property passport which sits at the nexus of many new technologies, integrating real-time smart building data through the Internet of Things and housing official land registry title documentation, could create a digital twin of both the functioning and rights over an asset. Companies working on similar solutions include Architrave, Chimney, the Homeowner's Passport, Nimbus Maps, Orbital Witness, Property Made Liquid, Property Logbook, Search Acumen, and Sprift. However, due to the laws of caveat emptor, or buyer beware, the key problem still remains how we can provide a guarantee that the information contained within a passport is accurate and trustworthy. In our transactions report, which I've previously mentioned, we conclude that any property passport must come with an insurance backing in order to avoid duplicated diligence and maximise liquidity. So in this section we've shown how transactions are currently highly inefficient. They've had high search costs, making it difficult to find a property at a fair price, high bargaining costs, taking a long time to transfer ownership, and high enforcement costs, requiring expensive due diligence from expert lawyers to generate trust in the transaction. Technology will reduce all of these costs, but only once data has been digitalised. This is a lengthy process. While machine learning software exists which can transform the necessary analogue and digitised documents into machine-readable digitalised formats, it's not yet efficient enough to make any major difference. Once this has occurred, the idea of a property passport would represent the single development most able to reduce the cost of any transaction. We imagine a world where all the required information is available in a single file, every property is discoverable and listed at a fair price, and sales can be near instantaneous through self-executing legal code. If this topic is of particular interest to you, we've previously released 2 reports on real estate financial technology. The first, The Future of Real Estate Transactions, looks at technology's implication for commercial conveyancing, and the second, Tokenization, The Future of Real Estate Investing, explores the potential future for fractionalized property rights, so anyone is able to buy and trade a small percentage of prime real estate, almost as if it were a company's share on the stock market. So far, we've learnt how we can use technology to make a building great and fetch a premium. We've learnt how to leverage technology to get a quick sale and fair price. In the next section, on shared economy, we're going to learn how we can maximise the potential of what we already own.